All right, so let me start this off by saying I'm not really trying to be a contrarian here. I don't have the answers. I'm not trying to educate people. I'm definitely not a chemistry major. I don't really know the answers to this, but in my personal belief, I don't believe maceration is a thing. I think it's pretty made up. I think maybe there are changes that happen to a fragrance, but I do think those changes are a bit overplayed, and it gets into this space of taking fragrance a bit too serious when you're talking about minor fluctuations. And the reason I don't think that maceration is real, for one, I never experienced it, so it becomes like aliens. How am I going to believe in something I've never seen? Have I experienced changes in fragrances? Sure, but it's like, 3 months later, a fragrance smells different to me. I account for I've changed. I don't just think, when I smell something, it just doesn't just happen at the nose level. It also happens in the brain, and our brain chemistry, our personalities change as we become more exposed to different scents. Our perspective changes. Even our diet can change the way we smell things. Even the weather conditions. Even, something that can affect longevity and sillage is the humidity, the temperature, my sensitivity to the smell, or even exposure to a stimulus. Like the first time I had a drink, I thought, oh, bitter, gross. But the more I got exposed to it, the more my brain kind of smoothed out the experience of having a drink. So that's just a way to show you that the drink didn't change, you changed. And I account for that. So the first time I'm exposed to a smell, it might have rough edges. But with repeated exposure, revisiting months later, my brain can smooth out those rough edges. My brain can struggle understanding how to smell something. With repeated exposure, it learns how to smell it better or different, or even it becomes weaker, and then people will blame like reformulation and stuff. But the reality is that you ever, smell a scent, and the more you're exposed to it, the harder it is to smell. So like what I'm getting at here and the point I'm trying to make is I feel like people say that the fragrance changed, and maybe it does at some micro level. I don't know. I don't believe in it because I haven't really seen it. But I feel like they rarely account for the fact that we change. And to be clear here, we're talking about maturation. Like maceration, I believe, happens before the fragrance even gets to your house. So technically, I don't want to be a lingo person here, but we're talking about a fragrance changing on the shelf in your house. There's really no evidence out there that actually really occurs. Like from what I've done, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm just sharing like literally my personal take on this. It's not a popular take, but this is just my take, to open up the conversation. But there's really no solid evidence that this actually happens, that fragrances change on the shelf, that if you let in like one small nothing of air by spraying the atomizer a couple times, even though it's still a sealed environment, because if it wasn't sealed, alcohol would evaporate out of it, that little smidget of air completely changes a fragrance in 2 months. There's no real evidence. It's all anecdotal. It's based on people's memory. There's not many people doing studies where they're taking a fragrance they already have and then buying a brand new bottle and spraying the first spray from it and then spraying their bottle on the shelf and side-by-siding them. So it's all going off of memory. It's people saying, oh, it smells different than it did 3 months ago to me. But they're going off memory, and memory is like a really fragile thing. And it also seems like a lot of bro science to me. Like, it's like, I don't know. Does my Windex macerate? Like, look at other things in my house. Does everything in my house macerate? And it just kind of is this bro science that's like, oh, the chemicals seep in and the oxygen comes in and completely changes the formulation, and it's going to smell so different than it did in the past. And I think maybe it sounds good and like people go with it, but I also think sometimes that these shills sell these really bad inspired by fragrances, Middle Eastern stuff. Someone gets it and they're like, oh, what the heck? Like this smells terrible. It doesn't smell like the original. And I feel like these shills, one of their things that they do is they say, oh, did you let it macerate? And it's one of their ways to like dodge responsibility for selling a bad product. Or somebody buys something even at a counter and they're like, wow, it only lasts 2 hours. And the sales rep will be like, did you let it macerate? So I think it's just this one way for like companies and shills to dodge responsibility for selling bad products. And it's bro science, and there's really no evidence that it's real. It's purely anecdotal. It's not something I've ever experienced. Have I experienced scents changing when I revisit them? Sure, I have, but I've changed. Like me as a human, my biochemistry's changed. So the maceration thing, I don't really buy into it much, and I'm not here to convince anybody, but it's like, let's all think for ourselves. Let's have like an open conversation on maceration. Do you think it's real? Share your experiences with it. Like, share how you know it's real. One test I did was I was doing those Montaigne videos and I was doing a bunch of samples, and Montaignes are made to order, meaning they mix like in their lab and then send it to you. So you get a very fresh bottle. Anyways, I was sitting on all these Montaigne samples and I chose to buy some of those Montaignes later down the road. And the first thing I did when the Montaignes get in is dig up the sample and side by side that macerated sample with this fresh made to order bottle. I couldn't tell a difference at all. 0.0%. Showed my wife, couldn't tell a difference at all. Like, so that's the issue. I didn't make a video about it, but I'm like almost 95% sure if I ordered like a new Aventus Absolute and had this macerated and sprayed them and side by side them, nobody would tell a difference. That'd be such an expensive project to do. I'm not doing that. I don't accept free bottles, and so that would make the project just unrealistic. But also there's like, for me, there's a lot of a belief that nothing's going to come out of that. I don't think it's going to be like my wife and I smell them side by side and, oh, wow, they're totally different. Like, whoa, what the heck? It totally changed. Like a couple little nothings of air got in the bottle and it sat for 2 months, and now the chemical formula completely revolutionized. I'm not buying that that's the outcome, and I'm not going to invest all that money in that. And honestly, I think it's taking fragrance a little too serious to worry about maceration. This is supposed to be fun at the end of the day, and we're talking about minor fluctuations. And maybe I'm completely wrong, you know? I'm not here to convince anybody. Just share my take. This is Delina. I'm watching her today. She's with Daddy. She's cute. She's the light of my world. We're going to go and do some activities and watch some TV. All right. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.